is not a secret that about 10% of rapes are reported.
So how do you know 10% of rapes are reported if the others aren't?
Because those people call the women's centers, they ask for help, they seek medical attention.
So they are reported.
I do agree that there is stigma that I have to deal with because I am fat, but I'm actually really in celebration of my body. I find beauty in diversity. I think we come in all shapes and sizes. And the assumption that we've dealt with a lot on this show is that just because you're obese, you must overeat. You must have an eating disorder.
No matter what size you are, you'll certainly benefit from daily exercise. You can't be healthy without that. But then let's talk about where we disagree. Look, if you want to feel good about yourself, it's impossible to feel good about yourself when you're doing something that's self-destructive. Also, self-destructive behaviors that result in damage or debilitation or even disfigurement to the body, that's never going to be perceived as beautiful. Let's say you're a smoker and have black lungs, and you try to say that's healthy because you don't have cancer yet. We know that it is actually factual that obesity is dangerous, and it's connected to cancer, stroke, Alzheimer's. We even know it's connected to an increase in birth defects. So there's nothing left to debate. It's not beautiful. It's not healthy.
You know, $15 an hour, first of all, as we said, it's not enough of a wage, but it is a substantial improvement, and this is what workers have put forward. Fast food workers themselves courageously took their lives into their own hands, walked out of their jobs in a one-day strike in New York City, and demanded $15 an hour. And that is the first step, because the economy is not going to remain static. We have to fight for affordable housing. We have to fight for better services in terms of mass transit, education, healthcare, and that is why we have to also talk about taxing the super wealthy and big corporations.
Well, I mean, of course, one government policy leads to the next. If you raise the minimum wage, then it's going to raise the rents. When it raises the rents, you're going to have to build affordable housing. When you have to build affordable housing, you have to tax people to build the affordable housing. When you tax people to build the affordable housing, people move out of the city, and you have to raise taxes on the people who remain in the city, and this is how you hollow out the economy of a major metropolitan area in the United States.
There's a very thick line between being politically incorrect and being racist. And words matter. So when a community of people that has been perpetually marginalized at institutions across America over history feels offended, we should acknowledge that. And I think that these protests are a reflection of a community of minorities that feel unacknowledged and not respected. And so, Ben, I read your article today, and I was shocked by the language you used. You were saying that it's time for the right to fight. Yeah.
Evidence. All this is screaming and feelings. How about like a shred of evidence, even for the incidents that actually happened in Missouri that drove this? Really? Where was the police report exactly when it came to, for example, the first N-word incident that led all of this? There was no police report on any of that. In the second incident, at the N-word at the University of Missouri, the administration investigated, and the kid's under investigation. In the third incident with the cop car, with the car hitting the guy.
Let me just ask you this, because we're short on time. You tell me, Namiki, whether we are training these kids to be little cupcakes who never have to encounter anything offensive. Assuming everything you said is offensive, they never have to encounter it because they can call the cops or they can get their administrators fired, or whether it's better to educate them that there are offensive things in life, there are insulting things in life, there are people who will say very incorrect or impolite things about you, politically incorrect things about you, very publicly and in a way that you might feel very offended by, and you have to deal with that in life.
I think people understand that, but I think that, you know, this is a blame the victim situation. We should be ridding the world of bigotry. We should be talking about that rather than blaming it on the victim who feels hurt, disrespected on campus, who doesn't feel heard by their administrators.
I love that utopia. It doesn't exist. It's not realistic. It does not exist. Good luck getting rid of all the bigotry.
The victim.
Well,
all the bigotry. We're just going to wipe the world. We'd love to, but it's not reality.
They literally just fired a white guy for being a white guy, and he's the victim.
There's a group of women that were here, and they're wishing to withdraw consent to use the footage that you had, I guess, gotten. So can you please make sure that is done and make sure that any of the stuff that they have...
We may or we may not use the footage. It is a public area, so we do have legal rights to use the footage.
But you, like, interviewed them specifically, right? So, like...
Yes, and they gave us consent to interview them.
Well, now they're withdrawing it, so...
That's not how it works, but...
Which is interesting given the event that you're at, right? Like, that's a little bit contradictory.
What do you mean it's a little bit contradictory?
Well, if you're...
I totally say it, that's not how it works. Well, you can't just withdraw consent the next, like.
Well, that's interesting.
Why is that interesting?
It's just, I don't know.
No. Tell me.
Like a rally for like rapists, like, you know, consent and like withdrawing consent, saying like no means no. They're saying no, and you're saying that like.
Okay, so if someone gives consent the night before, and then they have listen. If they have sex with a man and they give consent to him, then the next day decide, oh, I regret it. I'm going to report him for being a rapist, even though I gave him consent. You're saying that's okay?
I want to get paid the same as a man, and I think you understand that. So, if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man, and do I get to choose what I do with my body?
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job.
I feel like it's incredibly patronizing for you to paint these questions this way, especially as a white man. I don't expect you to be able to understand what people of color are actually saying with regards to cancel Colbert. He has a history of making jokes.
Sorry, being a white man doesn't prevent me from being able to think, and doesn't prevent me from being able to have reasoned perspectives on things. I didn't give up my right to be able to have an intellectual conversation when I was born.
I know, but well, white men definitely feel like they're entitled to talk over me. They definitely feel like they're entitled to kind of minimalize my experiences, and they definitely feel like they are somehow exempt and so logical compared to women who are painted as emotional, right?
No one's minimalizing your experiences. No one's minimalizing your right to have an opinion. It's just a stupid opinion. I mean, it's a misunderstanding of what satire is.
You just called my opinion
stupid.
You just called my opinion stupid. That's incredibly unproductive, and I don't think I'm going to enact the labor of having to explain to you why that's incredibly offensive and patronizing.
Explain.
I'm just giving you...
I love the mansplaining. I'm enjoying it.
You're loving what?
The mansplaining that's going on.
Well,
just talking me through how by not answering the question, by repeating processes which are not related to the question that I've asked.
What's mansplaining, Senator?
Well, it's the slightly patronising and condescending way that you're responding to my questions.
Well, I would suggest, Senator, that if you're putting the word man in front of some description of what I'm doing, you're doing that which I'm sure you're very much against, is making a sexist implication about how I'm conducting my role as a man.
Well, then the easiest way to do it...
Is that what you're saying, Senator?
Well, what I'm saying is that the way you've been responding to me has been patronising and condescending, and I have responded to that. So the easiest way to deal with this is not to have that way in responding to the questions I've asked.
Imagine the reaction, Senator, if I said you were woman-splaining. You're saying that I'm mansplaining.
Well, it is a term that's used.
Is it by whom?
Well, it is a term that's used.
By rude...
Doesn't make
by rude senators. By senators who are seeking to make gender an issue. Stop being a hypocrite. Conduct yourself appropriately for this place.
I'm sorry you're so offended by the use of the word. It is a word that's used. I'm surprised that you're so shocked by the use of the word.
No, I'm just calling hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Thy name is Labor. Thy name is Senator Gallagher.